Good afternoon and good evening. Please do let me know if you can hear me, if you're in the chat. I've been having some technical issues which I've been trying to solve. I don't know if you can hear me. If you're in the chat, please do let me know if you can hear me so that, okay, I can see the signal, which means you guys can hear me. How is everyone doing today? Again, good morning, a good afternoon, and good evening. I wholeheartedly offer whatever suits your time zone. Yes, thank you very much for confirming that, Stav. It's been a crazy week for all of us, all Chelsea fans, but the truth is we shall overcome. Like I've repeated in a in past days, we've been through worse situations before, and the club has come through. But today we're here to talk about the Saudi Research and Media Group, who looks set to take over Chelsea Football Club. And towards, I think most of us would prefer them to be successful because possibly because of their reach, they have a lot of money. But to me, I'd say that doesn't really make a difference. There are other factors I believe that makes the difference that we really want, which is that the man himself is a Chelsea fan. He's been to Stamford Bridge before. He's watched Chelsea games, and his children are also Chelsea fan. He owns a club in Saudi Arabia, so it's a football loving family, if you like, you can put it that way. And before I continue, I'd like to say big up to everybody in the chat, including TCFC, Mikhail, Almighty Blues FC, Fahim, CFC Fahim, who also has a channel, very, very good channel. Almighty Blues FC, who also has a channel, very good channel too. And Mikhail, who's always available and here supporting the channel. TCFC, everybody else. And Joshua Moyanki, you are welcome to the channel. And please, if you haven't, make sure you to smash that like button. And more importantly, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. So first of all, I'd like you all to put in the chat where you are watching this show from. The Blue Morning Show. Let us know where you're watching from. That will be good. And for today's show, we're supposed to have Norando from Halftime TV. But in a few minutes, if he's not here, I will put the link in the chat so whoever has time can come join me. Maybe let me try and Fahim, let me know if you're free to join the panel. If not, I'll continue and wait for Norando for a bit. If he doesn't come, then I'll share the link with you. South Africa, Tobago, yes, my brother. And watching from Malaysia, Hafiz Afik Swal. I hope I said your name correctly. India, for Almighty Blue CFC, all Chelsea supporters. And yeah, we are together. We're better as one. We must keep supporting our club. But the truth is, we will come true. Now, let me try Tyro Solid System Third Rock. Okay, that's it, Mikhail. I know you'd say your own. I know you say yours differently. And also, if you're in the chat, let me know, would you prefer an owner, the Saudi Arabians, or do you prefer the consortium being put together by Todd Bolly or the Nikandi group? Whatever you prefer, do let me know in the chat. And I can address some of your questions while I wait to see if Norando will come join the panel. So if you have any questions, let me know there so that we can talk about it while we wait for Norando to come join us. And Staff says, Fahim, white nose, Scottish accent, good vibes. Okay, this is just the people in the chat exchanging comments. So let us know. Oh, the Saudi media, for obvious reasons. Yes, I take them too because they have a footballing family, and they're all Chelsea supporters from the father, the man himself, to his children also who love Chelsea Football Club. And Almighty Blues FC say I am half Canadian too, but no accent. Okay, that's good to know. Sometimes here and there at staff. Okay, so again, let me know who you'd prefer to buy Chelsea Football Club. Let's talk about that while I wait for Norando to join the panel. As for me, like again, I've repeated this, I prefer the Saudis, and for obvious reason. Everybody knows about that. They're a footballing family. The kids love Chelsea Football Club. The man himself loves Chelsea Football Club. And I think there are pictures circulating that show. I think there are pictures circulating that show the man in Stamford Bridge, or one of them with, I think, with Roman. I'm not sure. I cannot recall quite exactly what that was. Football people preferred, yes, that's what it is, not money, because even though they are rich, the money will not play too much role in running Chelsea, because there's so much, there's a limit to what you can inject into the club. Because I learned from staff the other day who understands the financial aspect of football quite well. There's the new rule, the new financial fair play rule will tax you for luxury, or if you spend some certain amount of money, you'll be paying luxury tax because you spent beyond the required limit from club owners. And here, they support Chelsea. They have proper plans. And the name is very difficult to say, but I'm going to try to say it now anyway. Let me see. But the first name is Mohamed. And the last name, Al-Khereiji. I hope I got that correct. So, but that's, by the way, I think I can put the link in the chat so that whoever wants to join can join. When Norando comes, we can tone, then we can trim down the panel so it is I and him. Yeah, but what I know is that his the first name of the director of the Saudi Media Group is Mohammad Alkhereiji. I hope I'm saying it correctly. I knew nothing about the family until the rumors picked up that they are going to buy Chelsea. They already have a plan to build a stadium. Included in their plan is also the plan to extend a player contracts. Stav, welcome back to Chelsea Perspective. How are you doing, my brother?
Can't hear you very well now. I'm in the studio. I'm not hearing you very well. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you crystal clear. Can you hear me now?
All right. No, I can't hear you. I'm going back out and I'll come back in.
All right, no problem. Like I said, let me see again. This says from Tobago. He says they support Chelsea. They have a proper plans. Yes, I've learned that myself. And also, I don't mind any owners, irrespective of our geography, as long as they're fans of football and Chelsea plus. Yeah, it is needed. I do not want the Nick Candy guy because he's not going to buy the club alone. Even though the Saudis are coming also as a consortium, but I think they'd be making quick decisions because they're buying it. I think because they want to grow their global influence. Welcome, guys. Fahim, welcome to Chelsea Perspective. Welcome back to Chelsea Perspective. Staff, the same thing to you. How are you guys doing?
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome. Nice to have you guys around. I'll start with you, Fahim. Tell us what you know about the Saudi media group.
From what I know is that the Saudi media group, I mean, they're involved in football already. They've invested in Saudi teams like Al Hilal and Al Nasser. We obviously they've built that stadium. So they plan to obviously build a new stadium or a redevelopment of Stamford Bridge. But from what I know that there are Chelsea supporters and Chelsea fans that go to the games. So that's the only thing I know about them. I don't know much about them.
Oh, okay. Can you check if the feedback is coming from your end for him? I think I'm getting the feedback here. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Stav, over to you. Can you tell us what you know about the Saudi media group?
1 second. Yeah, the problem that I see, although it's only a minor one at the moment, is that all the media groups in Saudi are subsidised by the government, and they're dictated to as to what they can and can't print. They're told that they've got to print things that promote unity and that kind of stuff in the country. There's been conflicting reports that they do have a link to the government, which may, I'm not saying it will, but it may have a conflict of interest with Newcastle United, which means that EPL or UEFA might have issues, but that's not been proven. It's just a tenuous story that I've read, and I think the owner's worth $7.5 billion or something. So it's going to be a consortium. It's going to be a consortium, like you said.
And again, I read something on goal.com which clearly states that they're not linked to the company, just like all the Newcastle buyers, so the government cannot influence the decision. They say they're different, they are an independent organization. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I've read a conflicting story that that's come from Kinsella, hasn't it? He's the one who's been.
Yeah, no, I read that on goal.com. Go ahead.
Kinsella's their mouthpiece, basically, via goal.com.
So how about you, Tavago? What do you think?
Good day, guys. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing, brother? Tell us what you think about and what you know about the Saudi media group.
So far, all I know is a football family. They support Chelsea, and then
Ah,
they have proper plans. Like already, they're talking about giving a Rudiger and Aspelaqueta contract, also updating our stadium, and then investing in our academy. I think that's a good thing. We want someone like that because Abramovich invested a lot in our academy. So we still want the owner that can invest a lot into our academy. So I think they are good people. So hopefully we'll get them, but we just hope.
how about are you concerned, Fahim? Are you concerned about the issue that staff raised that might lead to them not being able to buy Chelsea Football Club?
It could be a possibility, to be honest. But I think there's always corruption in this anyway, so I could see it happen anyway. If they put in the right offer, and I feel like I think it's possible that they have a strong interest in Chelsea Football Club. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand they have strong interest. My question is, Stab, which means I'm coming back to you, Stab. Do you think, because of what you call conflicts of interest, do you think it will lead to the Premier League saying, no, these guys cannot buy the club, or the UK government? Stab, are you still there?
Oh, I thought you were talking to Fahim.
No, I'm
right,
asking you, yeah.
Yeah, right. Look, like I said, I've read conflicting reports. It's tenuous that they're linked to the government. I've read another report that basically contradicts that report. There's nothing really clear, but I would imagine. I think I've read somewhere that the Romans preferred their group, so I'm assuming that Roman has some kind of knowledge about them. I don't see the Conservative government being an issue for reasons I've already mentioned before. They don't really care about any human rights or whatever in Saudi Arabia, as long as Saudi Arabia are continuously buying weapons from them, so they wouldn't be an issue. The government.
I guess that's another way. That's another way to see it as a. Go ahead.
Yeah, they wouldn't stop it. They didn't stop the Newcastle one. People did. I think it was Amnesty International and a couple of human rights groups asked the Conservative government to get involved in the Newcastle application, and they basically said, "Well, it's nothing to do with us." So
yeah. Because if you look at this comment here on the Go.com website, it says, unlike Newcastle United, who are now owned by the Saudi Arabian state via the public investment funds, Manchester City or Paris Saint-Germain, Saudi media is entirely private entity with no direct ties to a particular ruler or government. I think that makes a huge difference, even though we're still seeing everything on the surface level. But the fact that it can be seen, that is from the public eye in the first place, that they have no direct ties to the government makes a huge difference. So I'm going to go to this question here from Zavi CFC, which asks, how soon can they take over? Starting with you, Stab, I know there's a deadline set for the club to be sold. So how soon do you think they can take over? Because it's looking more likely, if you ask me.
Yeah, the deadline for tenders is not till Friday, and they're not going to be doing any sort of talks before then. It still has to go through the Raine Group in the US, and then they negotiate with the government on behalf of the chosen buyer. Yeah. So nothing's going to happen until Friday. Once that process is started, possibly 3 or 4 weeks after that, and then you've got in the meantime, while that's all being done, the checks will be done. And like I said, the EPL reckon they can do them in 10 days. But like I will add a caveat to what you just said. Whilst not directly connected to the government, they do receive subsidies from the government. Every Saudi media group receives subsidies from the government. That's why their actual value is all questionable as to what their real value is, because they're subsidised by the government. So here's
something about the deadline. So I want to ask you guys on the panel this question. The deadline for a sale has been extended to March 18th. That's just a few days. That's just like Friday. 5 days from now. 5 days from now. Can that be completed, or even if they've started the process on that day, that's still fine? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's Friday. Friday is the date that it's been put back by 3 days. It was supposed to be Tuesday, and they put it back because of the hold up when the sanctions started. So Friday is the date when any prospective owner can put their bid, voice their intention to bid and put their bids in. Once the bids are in,
it's not necessarily that if on Friday it is not sold, then that is it.
No, that's just for the tenders.
Okay, now I understand. Fahim, what do you think? Do you think that there's enough time to sell it?
I think it depends on a lot of things. I think when it comes to securing a deal, I think that's the deadline, the 18th of March. But this process will take maybe a few months. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on the UK government. It depends on Roman's situation. Depends on the Premier League as well. But when there's a lot of investors interested in Chelsea Football Club, I think this deadline is meaning that you need to find a group of investors or one investor before 18th of March. Otherwise, there will be further consequences.
Now, can I come in on that?
Yes, go ahead quickly.
There is no further consequences. The deadline on Friday is for tenders to go in from anybody who has an interest in buying the club. Then Roman will decide which one he will, via Raine, right? Roman will have an input as to which one's going to be selected to buy the club, right? And then that's when the process begins from then on. And the government want it to be quick, right? Roman wants it to be quick because he obviously wants to get out the limelight, right? So it'll take 4 to 6 weeks. Right now, as of today, we don't have another home game for 3 weeks. So by the time somebody's been selected and the process begins, right, we may have 1, possibly 2 home games by the time the process is completed. So, and once we find the buyer, they may be more willing to soften the the sanctions. But one thing I will say is that the Saudis can say they want to offer contracts to Azpilicueta and Rudiger, but there's nothing.
We'll talk about that later. Don't give it away, please.
It's not.
Go ahead.
For me, it's not relevant what they want to offer. All right, I'll just leave it there, and then I'll explain.
All
later.
right. Thank you very much. I want to welcome Bobby to the panel. Bobby, how are you doing today, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Awesome.
As
Always
usual
good to
on the
have you.
go, but I always try and make time to join you if I can.
Thank you very much. That means a lot to me. So, Bobby, let me ask you this question. I know you've heard about the Saudi media group. They're looking more like they're the front runners to take over Chelsea Football Club, our beloved club. So that's why we're all concerned. I think you could say there's a somewhat a division between the Chelsea fan base. Some are not really ready to have them take over Chelsea because they're feeling like in the future we're going to have some sort of issue that's more like what we're going through right now. But for you, are you excited? Are you excited to have them take over Chelsea? To see them take over Chelsea?
I've learnt never to be excited about anything until it happens.
Mm.
At this current point in time, there is media in Saudi Arabia actually saying that it's not true. Now, whether that is them trying to take the scent off their bid, I don't know. So at this, Nizar Kinsella, who put this thing out, really has a bit of his reputation on the line with this. So for me, I'm in a wait and see frame of mind. Having said that, I'm 100% behind Stav. He's right. The bidders must make their bids by next Friday for consideration. And the race against time, the guy that was saying that there'll be further consequences, there will be no further consequences. The race against time is because of the renewal of the footballing license from the 31st of May. So that's the consequence. If we don't get a buyer by then, it could be a matter of looking at administration, because of course, with the sanctions in place, the club cannot really function. So we have to have a buyer, or at least potential buyers by Friday. That's the situation. Now, are these people involved? Like you, most of us only know what we've read about them. So far, I like what I've read, but the truth is in the pudding, as it were. Let's see if they're amongst the bidders, preferred bidders. Then we know it's serious. If they're not, then we know that, like with all these sort of things, people come in, they want to make themselves noticed or relevant, and they start pumping out fake news in a very serious situation. That's just it, really.
Okay,
I know
let me
that there
ask
are
you
others.
this.
There's the Nick Candy group,
Yeah.
apparently, trying to, that's the British sort of developers, trying to put a bid in. I don't know how to take that. I don't know, because you see, the climate of football ownership has changed. Individual owners will be no more. Nobody will have that kind of money. Football clubs, especially top football clubs like Chelsea, they become conglomerates. The amount of financing is super financing. So the days of your Freddie Chepperds, Jack Walkers of this world, the British owners, has gone. And the last guy that owned Newcastle is a testimony to the fact that it was too big for him. Roman Abramovich was a rare gem. And by the time the financing of football was slightly out of his reach, he had laid the foundation, just to show the brilliance of that man. He had laid the foundation that the club was relatively self-sustaining, really. Forget, the debts all came because of COVID. The academy was thriving, so the regeneration of players could continue for at least the next 10 years. And the only thing outstanding was the stadium, which, if things were balanced and he was not stopped from coming into the country, he would have found some sort of solution for with the banks. So he was quite rare. Now going forward, this is the age of consortium or group ownerships. And
But
No,
clearly,
I
some
can't
groups are
think of
better than the
anybody
others.
bidding as an individual for Chelsea at the moment.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Sorry?
I'm
Sorry?
saying some groups are better than the others, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, some, of course, just like some individuals are better than the others, there's always
Yeah.
going to be differences.
Mhm.
The American and the Swiss guy, I don't know too much about them.
Okay,
They-
let's bring it back to the Saudis because that's where we're focused now. The question I have
okay.
for you about the Saudis, assuming that it is the truth, do you have any concerns given the issues the Newcastle buyers, the people that bought Newcastle United, they had an issue before they were able to purchase the club. So, but for you, do you have any concerns? Let's just assume that it is true that the Saudi media group are looking to take over Chelsea Football Club. Do you have any concerns, or do you fear that in the future something will come up that will cost us much? That is the same issue or the same problems that we're going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, that there's always that risk, but there's always a risk to everything.
Uh,
What has happened? What is unlikely is for lightning to strike twice,
mm,
but it can do because a president has been set. They've decided, to me, wrongly, to bring politics into sport. I
mm,
thought that was very wrong. I personally, I can't say, I know the ins and outs of what goes on in the dark corridors of power, but personally, I just don't think Mr. Abramovich is very significant in this whole situation. And I think it's a nice distraction to make it look as if something is being done about it. Whereas in
mm,
truth, what's it done to change the course of that conflict? Absolutely nothing. It's not even noticed
mm,
by the antagonists of that conflict. So it's debatable. Having said that, do I have concerns? Well, everything has its risks, but what probably could be good for us is that because PSG, Man City, and Newcastle have been given the green light with the Saudi arrangements that are directly related to the government, we have one that we are told has no direct ties to the
mm,
government.
mm,
And, for as long as it lasts, it's probably the way to go because we're not alone. Whereas in the case of Mr. Abramovich, he was indeed the only sort of sole Russian owner of a football club. So he was easier to target. There's a lot of hypocrisy. The game today is quite interesting, to be honest, because, you know, you, you look at the reasons Abramovich was sanctioned, and we're playing a team that faces no sanctions.
yeah.
And then we have an ex-footballer from them
Mm,
talking about the morality of Mr. Abramovich. I mean, the whole thing is absolutely nauseating.
mm. Yeah, okay, stop there. Good input there, Bobby. Thank you very much. That's why I always like to have you on the panel. Coming back to you, Stav, can you look at take the comment on the screen says but with sanctions, can we lose too much financially within 6 weeks? Okay, Tobago, while I wait for staff to come in, let me ask you this question. Do you have any concerns? I know you like them already because
Nah,
your name shows you changed your name to the first name of the one of the buyers, right? So the question
yes.
I have for you is do you have any concerns at all?
To be honest, if this takes too long, I have concerns because like they stopped the sales of the T-shirts and the tickets and stuff. So I have a concern. So hopefully, after the deadline day, we're going to have some positive news. But
No,
but from
I'm
now,
talking about the Saudis. Do you have any concerns? Uh,
oh
yeah,
no
them
no
buying
no
Chelsea
no
Football Club. You don't any. Fahim, do you have
no.
any concerns?
Not necessarily, no.
I think Bobby knowed why I don't have any concerns, and I think Stav also has alluded to it because the fact is there are others, like the PSG owners, the Newcastle United owners, the Man City owners, all have ties with the Saudi government. But we get an owner, an individual, and that's an entity that doesn't have direct ties to the Saudi government. But here's the issue now. It says it doesn't have direct ties. It does not say it doesn't have any ties at all with the Saudi government. So we must pay attention to how that is phrased. Even on gold.com, that's how it's phrased. I don't know. It's not necessarily showing it again. It's phrased, that's, I think, exactly like this. It's an entity that does not have direct ties. It does not say it does not have any ties with the Saudi government. So we must pay attention to that. So, Stav, I'll bring it to you. Can you look at this comment on the screen by Xavi CFC, which says, but with sanctions, we lose too much financially within 6 weeks. I think, Stav, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, can you take that one, please?
Yeah, I've already approached the subject. Right, we don't have any more home games for 3 weeks. Right, the loss of earnings will be mostly from the club shop in that time, and the use of the museum and the stadium towards that kind. And I think the bars and all that have to be closed outside, because anyone who's been to Stamford Bridge knows it's got surrounding bars and restaurants and stuff like that, which come to the club. All that's shut down. But we don't have a game for another 3 weeks at home after today. Today is actually sold out because the tickets were sold before the sanctions came in. Everyone's working on the basis of 25. It's somewhere between 25 and 28,000 season ticket holders. I don't know the specific thing, right? But in that time, tickets would have been sold for games. With regards to Wednesday, I believe that hotels and the airplane and all that kind of stuff would have already been prepaid before the sanctions came in. There's a strong possibility that, and I'm going to say if, I'm not going to give away whether I think we will. If we get through, I think Man City, Liverpool are pretty much through, and I expect Man United to go through as well. We could end up playing another English team, which then is okay for handling the cost of going to the game. Staging the game.
So start talking about it, because I want you to...
I think, right, that the loss of earnings is going to come from stuff that are not on game days, right? And in the meantime, if the decision's made on Friday and it gets started, from what I'm reading, the government and Roman both wanted to go through quickly. Roman obviously
but you haven't told us whether it will affect us financially. That's the question.
Of course it's going to affect us financially.
Okay, that's what the questions from the people in the chat ask.
Yeah, but nobody can know how much, because we don't know what tickets were sold for home games prior, right? So that's why I said the vast majority of loss of finances will come from the outside parts of it, like the bars, the restaurants and stuff like that. But the majority of that finance in itself is on match days anyway, right? So during the week they are open, but they don't make that much business. And of course there's a hotel. The hotel that looks after the NHS.
Okay, understood. And thank you very much. And yes, from Zadi CFC and also Just Viola, as you've heard from Stav, yes, it will hurt us financially. If it will hit, will we be financially hit if there's no buyer? No, they're not gonna impose further sanctions, but the one in place already will cause us a lot of problems because it will continue to the club will continue to spend out of pocket in most cases, so which they don't have without proper income coming in. I'm coming to you straight, Bobby. And the question, let's talk about all the talks that the Saudi media group, they've talked about how they want to rebuild the stadium, how they want to ensure that the players that are out of contract stays by renewing their contracts. Is it really that simple, or is this just all talks, all the media just making up stories to make it sound even more juicy or delicious, if you like? What do you think, Bobby? Do you think there's any substance to that talk?
Well, the truth of the matter is that if you're going to buy one of the biggest clubs in the world and a jewel in our English game, you're going to have to do these things they've said. If not, all you're doing is purchasing it to run into the ground. You see, we're in a very interesting situation, and I think this is why you don't bring politics into sport. If the buyer is not suitable, the government would have contributed to destroying one of the best things that happened, as this country in the sporting way has produced in the past 20 years. If there is no buyer, the government will be left with two options. One, force the taxpayer to sustain Chelsea, or two, destroy Chelsea by forcing them to sell all their players and assets from within to sustain themselves and be denigrated to mediocrity or indeed obscurity. Now, what purpose does that serve the objective that was meant to be to help the Ukraine? None. All that has done, you see, it's very easy to destroy things, but building it takes years. It's difficult. And all these sort of knee-jerk reactions from people that really, I question their intelligence, is what leads to situations and bottlenecks like this. Now, what does that do? It's laughable. It's laughable. These people attacking Ukraine will be laughing because it's irrelevant to them. All we're doing is hurting our own people. Stav talked about businesses around Stamford Bridge, all the bars and pubs, and not to mention those employed by the club. Not to mention its significance to the product of our game, which is the Premier League, and indeed the game itself, and indeed a national institution that has been in a national sporting institution that has been in England for over 100 years. What are we doing? Out of spite? Jealousy? Seriously? Wow. I'm confused.
Yeah, great input right there. Yes, I understand your point. Just like Mikhail here on the screen, his comment reads, the section on operations of clubs are illegal and without precedent, and if taken up in court, will be found as such. However, that process will take time, and time is what club does not have. So that it only makes sense that the club follows, let me phrase it this way, follows the punch so it doesn't hurt them so much. Because if you resist, it hurts you even more. So it makes perfect sense. That's a great comment there from Mikhail. And I want to say welcome to Norando. It was supposed to be you and I on the panel today. I know probably it was to you, 3 a.m. for me will probably be like, 6 a.m. Eastern time, EST, but it's okay. I was able to share the link. I had to share the link in the chat so that people there can join the conversation. So, Norando, welcome back to Chelsea Perspective. So I will let me bring you up to where we are today. I know you've heard about the Saudi media group. It's looking more likely that's if we'll have to follow what's in the media, what's been said in the media, the front runners to take over Chelsea Football Club. So the question is, let me start you from here. Do you have any concerns?
First, let me apologize.
No problem, man. It happens.
Canada, we went to daylight saving time, so the clock went an hour ahead. So it kind of got me off.
The daylight saving thing confused just Viola too. She nearly persuaded me to change the time. I said, no, I'm looking at my computer here, so it must be correct. But go ahead. It's okay, brother. It happens to all of us.
Yeah. But I think I would have been more concerned had it been an American owner. I prefer difference, and that's why I fell in love with Chelsea. I think when I started supporting Chelsea was Arsenal and Manchester United, and everybody was rooting for them. So ideally, we were the underdogs, and I said, okay, I'm going to start supporting the underdog because all my friends, they were cheering for those two teams, Manchester United, Arsenal. They were the ones winning things, right? And I said, okay, I'm going to go for this guy over here. This was before Roman came in with a bunch of cash. The Saudi Media Group, based on what I'm reading, it's a private entity. The CEO or the owner of it, rather, his net worth is 2.7 billion, but the Saudi Media Group, that no one knows their net worth, the worth of the consortium. But I am not concerned. No, I think not one bit. The only concern I have in the back of my head is because of, obviously it says Saudi Media Group, so the government probably in another 15, 20 years may probably try to do the same thing that they did with Roman as with this particular group that we have, because we know the moral compass for political figures is very convenient. It works off convenience. So now they're encouraging Saudi businessmen to take in their money. We're seeing it over by Newcastle. So many other clubs who have Saudi individuals who have shares in the club, but not majority ownership. And now having them coming to Chelsea, who to tell if in another 5, 10, even 15 years, when Britain falls out with the Saudi Arabians, it won't be an issue. And I know folks said he's not politically inclined and all of that, but I personally saw a picture and even a tweet with him thanking His Highness bin Salam. So now they're saying Roman Abramovich is affiliated due to association with Putin. Again, who to tell if the British media won't come with the same thing again once they find a buyer in the future, or they get fed up with Chelsea and our dominance again.
That's a good way to put it, because you could argue it is jealousy. And surprisingly for us, our owner, Frank Lampard, denied us. I think I have every right to put it that way. While Ferdinand, of all people, a former Manchester United player, was, you could say, was fighting for us. He's the only guy that came out and said this is a direct attack on Chelsea. He has nothing to do with Roman Abramovich. Surprisingly, at least he found a way to say something about that is for the interest of the club. So yeah, but I get your point. It's out of jealousy, and there's no guarantee that in 10, 15 years the British media will come up with a story that will start causing us a problem. Let's talk about this part of that segment. I think I showed this one on Goal.com that said something about, like, it's a private entity that does not have direct ties to the Saudi government. It did not specifically say does not have any ties. So I'll start with you, Bobby, and Norando, I'll come to you. I think Stav already said something about it, making it clear that doesn't mean that they don't have any ties to the Saudi government. What do you think about that statement? I think there's room to speculate.
I believe, for all it's worth, the statements, I don't have any reason to doubt it. But just like the guy that spoke earlier, we're in a system.
Norando is his name, and he's from Halftime TV. He's a good football analytical brain. Go ahead.
Hi, Norando. Hi. We're in a system of political morality of convenience. I can't think of any better way to put it. And no matter what the stance of a organization or group or powerful individual is, Should you fall outside that convenience, you're vulnerable. So everything is a risk. Is it a risk worth taking? Well, I guess so. Because one thing we will see is that if we come through this, it will become a precedent set such that owners will be able to be kicked out for new ones to come in. So a new dimension has been created in the sporting industry, as sad as it is. So I don't think we should go into anything with fear. Make sure if it passes its due diligence, and there's no reason it shouldn't. After all, Newcastle passed it. After all, Man City passed it. I don't know what goes on in France, but they have owners of PSG. And indeed, this group I believe, owners, or at least one of them, owns Almeida in Spain, which could be a conflict of interest, especially if they get into the Champions League with Chelsea. I don't know how that's going to work, but I do remember Roman had interest in CSK Moscow, and we played them once in the Champions League or twice, so I don't know how that's going to work. So, but the long and short of it all is, you can't be afraid. I mean, this is business. If they get through due diligence, and they say, and there is evidence that they don't have any direct links with the Saudi government, what's the problem? We're talking as if, well, it's highly unlikely, but we're talking as if American owners are immune to any of this. As I've said, a precedent has been set. It's like in law. When you pass a judgment for the first time, what you've done is you've set that judgment in motion.
Yeah.
So what has happened to Roman will always be some sort of reference point. And indeed, at the moment, the questions in and around ownership of Man City, Newcastle, and the rest can only start to grow. Unfortunately, because it will expose a lot of hypocrisy, it will be kept quiet until it's convenient to unveil it.
Yeah, I think great input right there, and I appreciate that. I think it's just because they're Saudis, it's easy to point out because they have human rights issue, women rights issues. I think they've sorted out the women rights issues. I think women can now drive in Saudi Arabia, but that's by the way. Americans also do have their own issues, and we've also argued in this in a Blue Money show. There's hardly a billionaire that you can find today that doesn't have some amount of skeleton in the cupboard. It only comes out when we know about it. And Norando, let me start with Stab. Can you look at this comment on the screen? Can you please talk about it? Do you want me to read it for you, Stab? Okay, let me start with Stab. I'll come to you, Norando. Have you seen it?
Yeah. There are multiple rumors.
There are multiple rumors that this doesn't have much to do with Roman, but to do with Chelsea itself. What do you think? I know you've alluded to it when you were talking.
I think the statement has a lot of merit to it. One could argue, had it been another club, but again, we may never know. So us sitting here and saying, okay, had it not been Chelsea, what would have happened would be merely speculating. But I think, as Rio Ferdinand said, this is affecting the staff and those who Chelsea feed, those who are supporters of Chelsea, more than Roman Abramovich, actually. Because if you look at it, he was actually willing to give away the club for free anyway, because he was selling the club and the proceeds were going to Ukraine, right? So what they're doing now, saying they're trying to come across as using a strong hand technique. However, the person who's expected to be on the receiving end is not. It's us, the regular fans, the supporters, the employees, the folks who benefit from Chelsea Football Club.
And to be even more specific, more especially the British people.
Exactly. The folks who are there every day, every week, who are going to who've had long weeks and put their money aside to buy a ticket. So at the end of the week, they can go and they can feel that little bit of ecstasy. They can be away from their problems, for lack of a better term, because that's what sports is. Kind of like smoking or drinking or whatnot. It's an escape from the reality of things. So that 90 minutes or that 2 hours that you spend at Stamford Bridge, it's a different universe, a different atmosphere, different feeling. And
you don't even have to be there. Even in front of your TV set, it makes a whole lot of difference. Yeah, go ahead.
But before I moved to Canada, I used to be at football games every weekend because I've always been a big fan of football. And the feeling that you get when you're at a football game, it is just different. And I think it's incomparable. Like, I don't smoke, I don't drink, so it's kind of hard for me to compare it to anything. But I understand why folks do it. And as I said, the government is taking that away from them. And back to that individual's comment, if we look at the track record, the number of finals Chelsea has been with English referees over the past maybe decade or so, his argument could actually have some merit to it. If we look at some of the calls, some of the games that we've had, I think Chelsea has had some of the worst refereeing games in England over the past 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So could it be Roman Abramovich maybe trying to hurt him through the club? But I think it's always been about hurting Chelsea. And the more this goes on, the more the agenda becomes blatant. The journalists, the publications that they put across. I think there was one journalist earlier in the week put Thomas Tuchel, that this was the headline, the one good thing in a toxic Chelsea club or something like that. And I was appalled but not surprised, because it has been the case. And Jose Mourinho as well, he alluded to the fact that Chelsea doesn't have a representative on any of the regular sports panels on English football shows. And again, it shows that we aren't as preferred as the other clubs. We are the black sheep for the most part, the black sheep that always keeps showing up the other guys, and that makes it even worse because we're expected to fail. We're expected to fail. Oh, you came in and you basically degraded all the morals in England, and your owners is spending so much money, and the Newcastles and the Manchester Uniteds of this world, they can't get back to Greece, and you guys are here winning European trophies. You're winning everything there is to it. We don't want that. We don't want that. Manchester United is our biggest brand. Liverpool is our biggest brand. We want them to do well. And if they aren't doing well, then probably Arsenal. We want one of those clubs that we consider to be root clubs in English football success to be doing well, not Chelsea.
Yeah, great input right there. And that's why I always look to bring you back to Chelsea perspective. I appreciate that. Bobby, do you have anything to add to what Noranda just said about whether or not this is just, it has nothing to do with Roman, but with Chelsea Football Club?
I think he is 100% right. I think the tragedy that's going on in Ukraine is an excuse. I think Roman, a lot of people that were jealous of him, clearly is a target, and he is only part of it. But ultimately, it was an opportunity for many to attack Chelsea Football Club itself. And you see, what we're coming to learn now in this world is that there are groups of power bases. There are groups of orders that if you come in and upset them, they start to show you how powerful they actually are. Chelsea upset the footballing power base, really, certainly in England. There was a power base created for Liverpool, for either of the Manchester clubs. The London clubs that were perhaps permitted was Arsenal, and for whatever reason, that was an order. Then Chelsea, you see, what people don't understand is that Chelsea have been winning trophies before Roman. we have faced this before, Roman. We faced a lot of opposition to when we were rising up on our own in the early 70s, even in the 60s, when Chelsea, after winning the old Division One, the Championship in 1955, they created a system with their academy then that led them to a League Cup victory in 65, 10 years later. They were stopped in 55 from joining the European Cup competition. They would have been the first British team to do so. And then in 65, after having won the League Cup and they were on an upward trajectory, they had their players plucked from the club. They lost people like Terry Venables. They lost people like George Graham. They lost people like what's that great player that died recently? Oh gosh, I forget his name. How can I possibly forget his name? You know, they lost a lot of that quality to clubs like Spurs and so on. This was the order trying to create an order and put Chelsea in their place. Then Dave Sexton came and Chelsea rose up again. And in 1970, with this young team from their academy, that's why the use of the academy is not new to Chelsea. They won the FA Cup. And then they won the Cup Winners' Cup and got to the League Cup final the next year. And they were like, whoa, we're not having this. And Chelsea was dismantled again. So there is that agenda. And of course, Roman coming in and he blew the rest out of the water. They have been upset. Now, what we have now, as opposed to the past, is the involvement of the media. The media is the power with which they use to hurt anything. And they've been using it against Chelsea. Just as this guy said, you know, we've played so many games where the officiating is stark rank and the media have covered it up. And none more apparent than what happened in this last League Cup final. Chelsea won that game. The goal scored by Lukaku was clearly onside. The media and the officials claimed it was offside. Then all the issues like the red card that should have been given to Naby Keita was gaslighted until after the game when Liverpool had won. And then some of the pundits said, oh, I've looked at it again. And yes, I think it was a bad tackle. This is what we get all the time. So yes, in answer to your question, there is, and indeed, just as Rio Ferdinand himself said, there is a direct attack on the club. Some people have taken this as their opportunity.
And shamefully so, one of our own did not even in any way allude to talk about it, even address the fans, even saying that this is a dark moment for a club like Chelsea Football Club. It is outrightly, even that wasn't the question. Start denying whether or not how many times he's met Roman Abramovich. That was so shameful to see. It was so heartbreaking already.
Can I please address that?
Yes.
Coach, please. You know, I've had a number of people hurt me in the, you know, really break my heart out of this situation. And, you know, it's when you face adversity that you know who's who, you know who's true, you know who you can take to the trenches. You know, I have to praise people like Jason Cundy, ex-Chelsea players like that have come out strongly. And regardless of their employment, they've just spoken the truth. But I am deeply disappointed in many of them. I won't mention some names. There's one particular journalist that I know all she's doing is looking for a job, and so is running for cover and is attacking the club. And there's one ex-player that is doing the same thing. Frank, to be fair to him, where is he? Where is he now? He's in Liverpool. Who's he managing? A Liverpool team. Everybody's suspicious of him because of his Chelsea background. He's trying to run for cover. They're already in trouble as it is. So if he starts saying things that shows his loyalty, it will make a difficult situation harder for him. So in a way, he sidestepped the issue and became diplomatic. Is that right? For him, it is. Is that hurtful? For us, of course, because we loved him. We know who he is to our club.
But
Is that?
and Bobby, you must remember this is not the first time he's hurt our feelings.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ultimately, people like Frank are survivors, aren't they? Their first priority is to themselves. So I wasn't surprised by the answer he gave. In fact, I thought for what I expected, it was quite tame. But we move on. I'm not. I don't really care so much about what he's saying because he's managing another club now, and he'll probably continue to manage other clubs for the foreseeable future. So he's not going to be one of us while he's doing that. But it's
Yeah.
the ex-players that are not managing other clubs and the journalists that are just chameleons. When it was all good, oh, Chelsea, 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 I support Chelsea, my grandfather supported Chelsea, and my siblings support Chelsea. Then all of a sudden they come out with stuff like, oh, it looks really bad. Chelsea fans supporting Roman Abramovich should be ashamed of themselves. This is what it feels like when you find out that something isn't what you thought it was. All these kind of two-faced statements, and that says everything about the kind of people that they are. So that's life. You're always going to have your haters and your betrayers, but you're always going to have the loyal ones with you as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for putting it that way. Yeah, from his, it sounds that is what he did. He's trying to protect his image, not to get it into even more trouble because already he's in trouble. I think I was one of those that argued that he shouldn't take the Everton club because they're not well equipped to. It doesn't look like they're gonna survive it. I hope they do, but that's by the way. It's his own cup of tea. I don't want to sip of it. Let him finish it. Now, coming to you, Stav, looking at the comment on the screen because this is an interactive show. And Bobby, thank you very much for taking some time to talk about that in detail. Looking at the comment on the screen, Stav, it says, big up Chelsea perspective and the panel. Do you think if the Americans join, do you think they will use Chelsea as a profit? Which means, I think the question is if there will be profit focus. For me, even though I'm an American, I do not want them to back Chelsea Football Club because they've shown that they will always prioritize profit over the success of the club. It doesn't matter to them. Stav, over to you.
Right, I'll address this one quickly because I want to go back on some of the things that have been said by Norando and Bobby. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Right, quickly, a US consortium with Nick Candy at the head is fine by me. Right,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an issue with that one because he's a Chelsea fan. He's at the game today, right, and there's a reason why he's there. Right. Also, I want to go back to the other stuff now. I'm sorry, but I don't necessarily agree with everything that Norando and Bobby have said because I can't equate.
Yeah, you have every right. You have every right not to agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
As long as we're respectful to each other while expressing our
No,
opinions, that's fine.
I'm not criticising them two.
Okay.
They both have valid points, but not totally, right? I can't equate crooked referees and VAR operators with what's happening now, right? That's all I want to say on that, right? I can't equate that. I told you on Thursday, Friday and Saturday, right, that this whole thing's a nonsense, right? That up until Wednesday, there was no intention to sanction Roman. And then because of what happened in the parliament with the Ukrainian president speaking to them, things changed. And the idiots who created this license nonsense, right, sat around the table with Boris and they just came up with this garbage. I'll give you reasons why I don't equate the thing to the referees and all that stuff, right? Since that license was set down, they've increased the cost and the allowances of a game to 900,000 instead of 500,000, right? They've also agreed to allow us to keep any prize money that we win. Currently, at this moment in time, it's around 45 million euros from the Champions League, and if we get past Lille, there'll be another 15 added to that.
Yeah, can you bring it closer, Stab, because we have just a few minutes to round up, and we have the pre-game show.
Right, and I'll quote somebody who Bobby will know well, right? Ken Bates, the former chairman who sold the club to Roman. He has no issues with sanctioning Roman, but his argument is, why are you punishing, like these two said, why are you punishing the people of Chelsea, whether it's the players, the staff, everybody working in the thing, in the bars and that, and also the supporters, mostly the supporters. And one of his comments, which I really liked when he opened his statement, was, I'm sure stopping Chelsea from selling I'm going to have to use the language he used, okay? I'm sure that stopping Chelsea selling programmes at matches is really going to put the shits up Putin. It's going to make him shit himself.
Yeah.
In other words, everything they're doing is not going to have an effect on Putin. I said it myself. He couldn't care less, right? There's Russian oligarchs in jail in Russia. All this thing that because you're an oligarch, you have to be connected closely to Putin, right? I've said before, Roman would have been connected to him like he was to Yeltsin, like he was to Medvedev, right? As governor of Chukota, right? He would have come into contact. It was Yeltsin who allowed Roman to buy the companies on the cheap, right? He's Yeltsin's protege, right? He paid his taxes, he paid lip service, he might have kissed Putin's ass a bit, right, to stay out of jail. Now
let's stop. Let's watch the language.
Okay. He might have kissed his backside. He might have kissed his backside a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to stay out of jail. And all these people saying, but he hasn't condemned, right, Putin, right? When he made his statement the previous Wednesday, that he was going to sell the club and the money would go to war victims, yeah, right? On the Friday, a law was passed in Russia that anybody using the word war or alluding to it being a war rather than a peace mission, right, and to save certain Ukrainians, right, yeah, would face 15 years jail. So he'd already broke the upcoming law, and he has kids in Russia. How is he going to condemn them?
So stop, bring it down so that we can
Anyway,
round off. Remember, we have a pre-game show coming up. I want to ask Bobby.
So
I want to bring Bobby in.
I don't totally agree with the collation between referees, etc., etc., and what happened, right?
Okay, that's your opinion, and that's their opinion. I understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, the government just had to come Wednesday. They had to change tact. They weren't going to sanction him, and he wasn't expecting to be sanctioned, right?
Okay.
And then because of Zelensky appearing via video in Parliament, and the opposition parties, who are no better than the government, right? They were forced to do something, but they're not doing it properly because they're affecting the wrong people, and it's nothing that's going to scare Putin into stopping the war. Done.
Understood. Bobby, coming to you. The question, the comment on the screen, because this is an interactive show. We look at what the input of the people in the chat. This says we should stop banners, please. That might affect the club, and also the British government has also they did put out a statement asking the Chelsea football fans to stop chanting Roman's name. I think the issue was that the timing, the first time they did it, was, you could argue, was wrong. There's nothing wrong about chanting his name, but don't chant it when something is being done with regards to the victims of the crisis in Ukraine. So, Bobby, what advice do you have to the Chelsea fans so they don't make matters worse? You don't want to give them an excuse to come hard on us.
Yeah, I think Chelsea fans are very intelligent people. To be fair, a lot of the fans I know that went to that game said that they started the chanting after the, I think, the minute silence or whatever it was for the acknowledgement of the war in Ukraine. I agree that's a little untimely. You know, any situation, no matter what you feel, where people are being killed unnecessarily, ordinary people, like you and me, have nothing to do with politics. It's a tragedy. It's sad, and it should be acknowledged. So I do agree with that, and not that we don't love Roman, but the fact that Roman has become the object of whatever in this situation, we need to show some sensitivity. However, the government, I don't think directly said we shouldn't chant his name. I think that in itself would be immoral. I think if you want to acknowledge Roman, there's nothing wrong with that, but you do it perhaps at a later point in the game, and you do it respectfully in view of the knowledge of the current situation. As far as banners are concerned, I've seen outside the stadium on some of the fencing, leave my club alone. I see nothing wrong with that.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good
You
one.
know, leave us alone. What on goodness earth has the regular guy with the burger store in front of Stamford Bridge selling to fans, the regular fan who just wants a ticket to watch his club? Don't these people understand? Don't these people understand what Chelsea as an entity, let's forget everything else, did during that pandemic period for the mental health of thousands, if not millions of people, not just in the UK, but worldwide? Why are you doing this? Leave us alone. I know they've made some concessions. I understand that. And indeed, what Stav alluded to is correct. They've now given us £900,000. Whoa, whoopee doo. And allowed us to access to our prize money. Yeah, great. It is our prize money. So, I just think all these dictatorial restrictions to the club itself is wrong, and has nothing to do with the war. Just as Stav says, has no impact on the war. They couldn't give a rat's backside what we're doing to our club. In fact, to them, it is laughable because that is a valuable asset to the country itself. Why are you destroying it? Because of them. It's ridiculous. So the sooner all this is resolved, I think some people somewhere are beginning to see the stupidness of all this, and I'm hoping they will, push through a speedy sale to stabilize the situation, give the club back its momentum, give the fans back their access, and then you can, if you want to face Roman or whatever, that's your problem. We love him, but nobody. It's not about us. You then make it not about us. That's the most important thing.
Thank you very much, Bobby. That's a great input too. I think we shall, again, I'm going to keep saying it, we shall overcome. So over to you, Norando. What do you think? Any advice for the Chelsea fans? So what?
I I think they should continue their chants of Roman. After the moment of silence, probably not. As one of the individuals in the panel alluded to, it was making more of a situation than it actually is, because it was actually after the moment of silence. I wasn't there, so I can't say definitively what happened if it was a case where they were chanting during the moment of silence, but also during the game against Norwich. I saw an article where Norwich's owner came out and said they were chanting Roman Abramovich's name, and it was embarrassing. So they started chanting as well, and she said we started chanting as well. So she was a part of the chanting. And so I don't think anything is wrong. The high and mighty folks who act as if they're squeaky clean know, the likes of Simon Jordan and all of those individuals, they're condemning the fans, saying they're embarrassing, they're disgraced, they're appalling because they're chanting an owner's name who did so much good for them over the past 20 years. So I think roll the banners out, continue the chanting, but again, timing is key, and we obviously have to pay respect to the folks in Ukraine. They made it about politics, so let's make it about politics. Let's make it about politics, and to us, it's more about sentiments more than anything else, because our owner has been kicked out of London. He can't even attend the final game as he has requested. Well, we're yet to see what will happen with that, but I don't think it will happen. So I think he is there in spirit, and we need to make him feel appreciated. And his name should be chanted from maybe 5 minutes in straight through till the 94th or the 95th minute. My opinion.
Yeah, I think that's it makes sense. They should just watch the timing of when they chant the man's name. They have every right to chant his name. Like somebody said, he is like a father figure to all of us Chelsea fans. But we must not make it all about him. We must recognize that people are suffering in Ukraine. That's important. The club has also released a statement, but still, I say that's not reason enough to do anything further to the club because the fans are chanting the name of the man that they adore so much. Stab, any advice for the Chelsea fans?
Hold on, before you go to stop,
Hmm.
I the folks are making it seem as if there's an exact correlation with what is happening at Stamford Bridge and the folks in Ukraine.
Hmm.
Every time something happens at Stamford Bridge, they keep alluding to what the folks who are in Ukraine, what the folks who are in Ukraine. Chelsea isn't the one fighting the war in Ukraine. Roman Abramovich isn't the one fighting the war in Ukraine. So every time when Chelsea fans or something happens at Chelsea, folks keep saying, but what is happening in Ukraine is worse. Why? You aren't comparing any other club. Chelsea isn't funding the war. Roman Abramovich isn't funding the war. And even if he is, based on any information that they have, you already cut him off from Chelsea. You might put it like this. It's almost as if I have a home with flowers at the front and my gardener comes in to water my flowers. And I say, okay, gardener, you can't water the flowers anymore, right? Remember, he's putting the plant food and everything and all of that. So I'm saying you can't water the flowers anymore. Who do you think is gonna suffer most? The gardener may feel some way because these are the plants that he nurtured and everything. So he may feel a way. But at the end of the day, my plants are the ones who are going to be furious at me, right? Because they're gonna die, they're gonna wither. So you can continue.
Yeah, I think great input right there. And before we round off, I have to say this: we were gonna do a giveaway today if we had like 50 people in the chat, but we don't have up to 50. But I think we'll do that during the pregame show, whether we have 50 people or not. I think we'll still do the giveaway show during the pregame show, which starts in about an hour and a half or so. So, Bobby, I'll come to you. Any final thoughts on the possibility of the Saudi media group taking over Chelsea Football Club?
To be honest, if what's to be read is to be believed, and I see no reason why it can't be believed, I think we can be excited about it. I think a lot of us, the excitement is dampened by the loss of Roman. Going forward, if they are the people to take over the club, so be it, especially if they do right by the club. I also understand what Stav was saying about Nick Candy and that group.
Hmm.
Certainly, Nick Candy has the expertise in building a stadium, but then so do the
The
Saudi media
Saudis.
group as well. So, may the best man win in that situation. What I really hope is, look, Roman Abramovich, Chelsea was his true love. It was clear. I don't know whether you've been on YouTube. I remember in the early days when this man bought the club, watching him. I've seen him live at Stamford Bridge. I've seen him kick every ball with the rest of us. I've seen him, wince at every attack of the opposition with the rest of us. I've seen him move his body in different ways as the cameras caught him when we miss chances. He loves this club. He is one of us as far as being fans is concerned. He feels the pain when we lose. He feels the joy when we win. Every frustration. All this man wanted was to bring greatness to Chelsea. Now, I just think, okay, they've got rid of him now, but don't destroy his legacy. That would be just a crime to history. Roman Abramovich deserves his pride of place. I believe when all this has settled down and time moves on, we should be looking to a statue for this man that started all this. You know,
Absolutely.
he was unique as an owner, very, very unique.
Will the
Absolutely.
government allow
And
it then?
yeah, I wanted to ask you this before I go to Norando and then start for us around up. Sorry I missed it. I wanted to ask you that question. Frank Lampard's response to that question regarding Roman Abramovich and the current situation at the club. Do you think it will in any way affect his legacy at the club?
No, because something about Frank, when he went to play for Man City, we understood his flaws and we understood his position. I have to point to one thing that nobody has ever mentioned, and I personally believe to be true. And I have no evidence of it, but I believe to be true. When we played Man City at their ground, when Frank was with them, and he came on and scored, he didn't celebrate. He scored their equalizer. Clearly, he didn't celebrate. Then Frank had a chance towards the dying end of the game to actually win the game for Man City. He had an open net. I think he miskicked it, or he ballooned it, or he did something like that. Frank didn't want to score that goal. Frank didn't want to score that goal. That's what I personally believe, because Frank doesn't miss chances like that. So all this stuff about what he's doing at Everton and all that, the guy's just trying to preserve his career and keep his job. Is it right? Probably not. It's probably a bit cowardly. But will it affect his legacy? I doubt it. 13 years at Chelsea, winning what he did, taking the academy boys to take us to the Champions League positions that even gave us the opportunity to win the trophy a second time. We can't forget that. Let's not forget the good that people have done in the past and not be focused on what they're doing in the present. That really doesn't matter to us.
Yeah, if here's where I have an issue here, Bobby. I must let you know. If it was a one-time thing, then I'd say okay, he can be forgiven. But after joining Manchester City and then this now, I mean, he can be forgiven. But again, I think a lot of people have issues with that. But I get your point. I think and the truth remains, like you've mentioned, nobody can take away what he's achieved at Chelsea. The record will forever remain there. At the same time, also, I think you could argue what he's done, his response to that question, and him joining Manchester City will forever be a dent on his Chelsea record. Maybe not destroying his legacy entirely. So that's
Can I put it this
how
way?
I see it. Yeah.
Can I put it this way?
Yes.
You know, for those of us that are experiencing this in real time, it's hurtful. I'm old enough to remember the time Dennis Law, who was an absolute Manchester United god, left Man United to join Man City. And he scored the goal, I think in 1974, something like that, that relegated Manchester United. He scored the goal that relegated Manchester United. Can you imagine that? Has it affected his legacy? Well, at the time and for the years afterwards, his name was mud to Man United fans. Today, it's a blip, but it's not really taken away the years of success he had with the club. So history tends to just remember the glory times.
Okay. I hope it is the same for him. Yeah, I understand your point. Coming to you, Norando, quickly, any final thoughts on the potential of the Saudi media group taking over Chelsea?
I genuinely hope they take it over sooner rather than later. And I want this to be a teachable moment for the guys at Chelsea, because as a family, you rally around each other during times of adversity, and 9 out of 10 times you come back stronger. So imagine what it would be if Chelsea came back from all of this and won everything that there was to win available to them, the European Champions League and the FA Cup. Imagine. So I think they should use this as a trampoline, for lack of a better term, to propel them forward. When the world is against you, it's motivation. When all odds are against you, you get that extra bit of drive. Not that the guys didn't have it before, but you get that extra boost to prove the doubters wrong, to rub it in their face. Imagine Chelsea winning the Champions League in Paris with Roman Abramovich in attendance.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment right there. And also, what do you think about Frank Lampard? Do you think his responses and the fact he's joined Manchester City when we didn't want him to join, and the fact that that is the response to that question, which we call a denial, do you think it will affect his legacy at Chelsea?
No, I don't think so. I think had it happened a little bit closer to his playing career, it may have. But no, he's no longer a player. He's no longer obligated to do anything for Chelsea. As a matter of fact, he did what he had to do for Chelsea for the 13 years plus the year and a half that he was coach. No, he has to do what is best for him. While he was under the Chelsea umbrella, he had to do what was best for the club. And individuals like Patrick Vieira, who can come out and can speak freely about Roman Abramovich, it's because, again, they're not associated with Chelsea. And I think Frank Lampard knows what the situation is when you come up as a Chelsea person. And we mentioned it before, it was probably already tough for him going in as a former Chelsea or a player or as a Chelsea legend. So I think him distancing himself from all the drama and the controversy is best for him now, because I think staff mentioned the relegation fight that Everton are in, and that relegation fight is real. It is as real as they come. So he needs to focus on that. I don't think he didn't disown Roman Abramovich. He said he only met with him 2 or 3 times. Who's to tell? Probably it's the truth. Probably John Terry was the guy, because I think John Terry posted him on his Twitter, and a member of Parliament condemned him, saying he should be stripped of all his England caps and his legendary status for the national team. That's how far he went. So we see
that is really crazy.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So John Terry, as things stand now, he stands to lose little, right? His England captaincy and legacy. You can do whatever you want, but already I am etched in the mind of the English person, the English masses, as a legend, as a legendary captain, as a legend of the sport. Frank Lampard, on the other hand, he is an active head coach. He's a manager of an actual Premier League club. Imagine if Frank Lampard posted Abramovich on his status or on his Instagram, what that would be like. So it is what it is.
Yeah, thank you very much for saying that. Stab, quickly, can you look at the comment on the screen?
Do you think we will be...
Okay, and again, I'll have to say, before you take that on, I have to say the restrictions end in May, and that's far off from the transfer window. I think we'll be able to still sign players, and that is if it is not reimposed, because it expires. The license expires. I think the whole thing expires in May, and then I'm not sure, not well acquainted with the structure. Start over to you if you want to talk about that, and also your final thoughts and the potential of the Saudi media group taking over Chelsea.
Right, quickly, the license relates to Roman's Chelsea, not any future owners Chelsea. That licensing, so there'll be no ban from signing players. The deal will be done by the end of May anyway. Right.
And so you're saying at the moment the ownership shifts, the sanction ends.
Yeah, the minute the ownership moves, the sanction ends. The sanction is on Roman, and it's been passed on to the club whilst he's the owner. So anyway, that's that. Regarding the Saudi bid, I'll wait and see on Friday. I'm not going to get excited. I'm not going to get too carried away with it. I just want to see how that process is. With regards, I'd like to make one point, right, that Boris Johnson's comments about Roman having blood on his hands was ambiguous, no proof added, and Roman was cleared in an English court, right, in 2018, right, of any involvement, right. The thing with regards to Frank, unfortunately, circumstances surrounding his move to Man City, right, is an issue for me. And the fact that he continued those circumstances after, when FIFA exposed Man City and him, and he's still continuing even now. His response yesterday, right, with regard to what, sorry, I forgot his name again now. What was his name? Rondo?
Oh, Norando.
Norando, yeah, right. With regards to what you said, right, John Terry, right, was a future manager, right, and his reputation is on the line, okay. If somebody like Patrick Vieira, right, can stand up for Roman Abramovich whilst he's the coach of Crystal Palace, then I would expect our former superstar to do the same. The way he reacted, right, to the question, it really teased me off. And you've got coaches, incumbent coaches, working coaches, like him, like the guy at Man United, Ragnick, right, and a couple of others, right, are stuck up for Roman and saying that it's got nothing to do with Chelsea and that he's brought so much to the English game. Then I expect somebody who's had so much links with Roman to at least stay the same, right? So I don't agree with what's going on. He's been sanctioned, fair enough, I accept that, right? Especially if he has got links. But what he did for Chelsea and what he did for my career, right? Because when we signed Frank Lampard, right, people complained and they said, why are we signing him? And I'm sure Bobby knows this, right? Why are we signing him? And then it was Roman came in, Roman brought Mourinho in, Mourinho changed everybody's careers at Chelsea, right? But he was brought in by Roman. And for somebody who shared an open top bus so many times, shared changing rooms, training grounds with Roman so many times to turn around and say, oh, well,
and the rumors that he stayed on his yacht, he stayed at his villa.
Yeah, I know he stayed at his villa because I know the guys who were guarding him, his family. I know for a fact he stayed at his villa, right? And that was just before he signed for Man City. So for him to say, oh, I only really came into contact with him 2 or 3 times in 13 years, right? I'm sorry, that's a cop-out. And I don't care if he is an incumbent manager. Other people who have no connection to Roman, who are in managerial jobs, right, defended his legacy to the Premier League and to Chelsea. That's me done. I'll see you for the preview.
Pre-game show. Yeah, so with that, I say thank you very much to Bobby. Bobby, I don't know if you saw on the screen, it was Just Viola who said, Bobby is making me cry. Because the way you talk about the club, just like you're the same thing as Stav, you talk about the club with so much emotion that whoever listens will be impacted one way or the other. Bobby, did you see the comment?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Chelsea Football Club, I've been a fan of Chelsea Football Club since I was 4 years old. I watched them win the FA Cup at the age of 4. And I've been a fan since then. Chelsea has been my passion. My family know me for it. People look at me, and if you see what I do for a living, it's such at odds to that because what I do is quite serious. But that has always been something that's been close to my heart, and it will never stop. Never. I've seen it all with Chelsea. I've seen it all. I've seen relegation. I've seen us win the Champions League twice. And hey, listen, guys, can you imagine? Can you just imagine? And I dare not dream if Chelsea win this Champions League again, back to back. I tell you what, possible. I would advise the filmmakers to make a film out of this because it will be absolute box office. Box office.
Wow. That is touching, and that's why I always like to have you and Stav on the panel. You guys talk
Except
about
that
Chelsea with
Roman
so
won't
much
be there.
passion. Yes, except that, but still, he will be enjoying it. And the truth is, I think you two talk about Chelsea with so much passion that whoever listens will most definitely enjoy it. And again, I said before, I promised we're going to do a giveaway, but with one condition: if we had up to 50 people on in the chart participating, but we have the most we had today is 24. But don't give up yet. If you can join the pregame show, which starts in less than an hour or so, we will still do a giveaway whether we have 50 people or not. So I implore you to come. Thank you again, Norando. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Bobby. And please be sure to check Norando's. Check out Halftime TV. You will enjoy it. Norando is a great football analytical mind. You should check out his content. I promise you will enjoy it. I have the link to his channel in the description section, and I also have the link to his Twitter account. I will add Bobby's information and also staff's information. And if any time you guys check it and I haven't added it, please do let me know, because I usually leave it so that the video is done processing before I do it. If I do it immediately, it will cause an issue. So thank you guys. And again, we hope peace is established in Ukraine so that people will stop suffering. And we do care about what's going on there. We just do not care about Chelsea Football Club. We've always said that we hope they find a solution to the conflict there. And with that, I say thank you to everyone in the chat. And I hope you guys join us for the pregame show. And I say God bless us all. See you guys next time. Cheers.
Take care.